Hey guys, welcome to Bastion Time. I am your host Bastion with a little bit of a cold, so forgive me if my voice is a little weird or I feel tired. But in any case, let's get to that Nintendo news. First of all, because Majora's Mask 3D has come out, Mr. Aonuma has done a lot of interesting interviews. He did an Iwata's Ask, and then he's also interviewed with IGN and such, so we've got a lot of new interesting information about Majora's Mask 3D, and even about the original development of the original Majora's Mask. He was talking about how, with the remake, he really didn't want to do it at first, Majora's Mask 3D. Basically, as soon as Ocarina of Time 3D came out, Mr. Miyamoto came to him and said, you really should do Majora's Mask remake, and Aonuma was like, oh my gosh, that was... I don't want to go back and look at all of my mistakes, because he felt like he had made quite a few of them, and Mr. Miyamoto said, well, you've got to. So he did, and sure enough, he found tons of things that he wished he had done differently about the game, so that's why there are changes. There aren't changes just for the heck of it, there are changes because he went back and played through the game and made a list of all of the tiny little things that he felt he should have done better. He also talked about the fact that there's that whole time manipulation aspect in Majora's Mask, and the interviewer asked, will we see a return of, like, that sort of thing? And Mr. Aonuma said, his answer was very cryptic in typical Mr. Aonuma manner, and that makes me think that there possibly could be some kind of time aspect. He was specifically pointing out the fact that you can you can change the length of time, and like speed time up or slow time down. And I think that, this is just pure speculation on my part, but I think it has something to do with the aspect of when they showed in the Zelda Wii U trailer, or not trailer, but gameplay, you being able to leap off of Epona, and then there's that whole weird time freeze thing. I think that might have something to do with it, because his response was, yeah, the idea of being able to slow down time is very interesting, and that's something that might appear in another game, but in a different kind of way. Seems like that might be what he's talking about. He also talked about the show Twin Peaks, which I think was in the 90s or something like that. I've never really watched this show, but basically all of my friends have and love it. And he was talking about how that was a major influence. I guess it's very weird and quirky and full of mysteries, and it just has a very unique kind of character, a strange kind of character about it. And he talked about how he watched it originally, and then the director of the game watched it, and they felt like they were incorporating some of the weird quirkiness of that show into the game. He also talked about something that confounded me when I first played it, which is that there are space aliens and UFOs in the game, and what is that doing in a Zelda game? And he basically said that UFOs were kind of a big thing in pop culture in Japan at the time, and so he wanted to incorporate something like that in just because it was a big part of pop culture at that moment. And then sadly, the last interesting bit of information that came out of this particular interview was about his retirement. He said that he is seriously thinking about retiring at some point in the future, and he's trying to figure out who within the team is a successor to him. So it's just weird to think that, I mean, in my lifetime, the baton was passed from Miyamoto to Aonuma. To think that at some point in the near future, that baton is going to be passed from Aonuma to somebody else. I don't even know who that could possibly be, but... Oh, and then he also talked about, I think it was even in a different interview, he talked about the fact that originally the 3-day cycle was originally a 7-day cycle. The origin story for Majora's Mask, in case you did not know, is right after Ocarina of Time was created and released, Mr. Miyamoto said, okay, what we need to do now is create a master quest to Ocarina of Time, so Aonuma, please design brand new dungeons, and then that's what the whole new game will be. We'll release it in a year, it will just be Ocarina of Time, but with brand new dungeons. And Mr. Aonuma was like, no, I'd rather make a brand new game. And Mr. Miyamoto says, but you can't possibly make a brand new game in a year, can you? And Mr. Aonuma said, yes, I can. So that is what Majora's Mask is them reutilizing all of the Ocarina of Time stuff and creating this brand new game in just a year. And so Mr. Aonuma was talking with somebody else in Nintendo who was working on a separate game that utilized a 7-day cycle, and he wanted to bring that guy on board to be the director, I think. And that guy said, yeah, but what about this project I've been working on that has this interesting 7-day cycle? And Mr. Aonuma was like, yeah, let's just put that into Majora's Mask. So originally it was going to be a 7-day cycle, but then they realized that's expecting the players to remember too much. Personally, 3 days expecting me to remember too much. So thank goodness it was not a 7-day cycle. Anyways, that is it for this episode of Nintendo News. See you guys tomorrow for more news. Bye, guys.